It's the Christmas cast, Daniel. You gotta get in the spirit.
Do we have a funny opening plan?
I have...
Hot fuck, it's Christmas.
Fuck, it's Christmas.
Welcome to No Clip. I'm Chedron.
I'm JJ Artemis.
I'm Andy Kinnick.
I'm Daniel Otten.
And I'm Steven Otten.
And they're joining us today to talk about this game from their childhoods, sort of. You might remember Dan from the Trine episode, which was way back. Was that episode 9?
Something like that.
Yeah,
It was
so
early.
22 episodes ago. It's like almost a full year. And we're going to be talking about Rascal, which was a game that was released in 1998 and was developed by Traveler's Tales. Now, I kind of want to start this by answering a question that, based on every conversation I've had about this game since I played it, is probably going to be like something that other people are thinking about. So I was leaving work this morning, and I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, I'm going to go home and play Overwatch. And I was like, I'm going to go home, and then I'm going to record a podcast about the worst game I've ever played. And he was like, oh, what game? I assume,
Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, I assume thinking that I was going to have some controversial opinion about a popular video game. And then I told him Rascal on the PlayStation 1. And he responded with, why are you talking about that game? Semicolon, why the fuck did you even play that game?
Yeah, I figured we'd want to set up like why we would be talking about this game. It's not like an especially interesting story, other than to say we got, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but we got a PlayStation 1 the year it was released, way back when we were kids. Each of us, the three siblings, got one game.
Mm.
Mine was Rascal.
What were the other two games? I have to know
I
the other
think,
games
okay,
were.
we actually disagreed about the Pandemonium,
Pandemonium
which is actually
2.
pretty good. I don't know if critics liked it, but it was a fun game. And helicopter game, right?
Yeah, Thunderstrike 2. No, I don't know anything about Thunderstrike 1, but Thunderstrike 2 was
It was
great.
we played the shit out of all of
It
these
was.
games,
They were all
honestly.
playable at the time.
Right, what a blockbuster lineup.
we were like over the moon to get a PlayStation. Though.
Yeah, it didn't matter what it
So,
was.
and okay, so the reason we're talking about it really is that, okay, two real reasons. The first being that Andrew, who's also my cousin and Steven's cousin, who didn't have a PlayStation as a child, was super jealous of Rascal.
Yeah.
The PlayStation was one of many things he didn't have as a child.
That's a separate podcast entirely.
And so, yeah, he was super jealous of Rascal, and so it got us talking about it fairly recently when he mentioned that.
Yeah, like
And,
maybe a year ago.
Yeah, and the other reason
This is
that,
weirdly something we've been planning for like a long time.
the other reason that we are still interested in it, I guess, or were still interested in it, is it was a game that, and I think this still comes across now, that, like, as a child, is like a really mysterious game. As a child, I guess I thought, like, it must be really cool and hard, and like it would be something really rewarding to like complete. Now I know it's just bad. But like as a kid, I played it and only ever got, and like this was a huge accomplishment, only ever got past the first world.
Right, yeah.
And so it was something I like had this like back of my mind desire to come back to. Now that I am competent enough to
Actually
get through almost all of it, it turns out.
Yeah.
Not all challenges are worth conquering.
That's true. It turns out that's true, but that's why we were interested in returning
And
to it.
additionally, we also wanted, for a while, talking about just a game we thought was really bad. See if we could do an episode.
And
on
yeah,
that
yeah.
game.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see if that pans out the way that we hope it does.
And I should add that we didn't even know it was bad until, or that it was like panned by critics until like a year ago. We were talking about it. I was like, let me look up Rascal. It's like, oh, like turns out it was actually supposed to be one of the worst games on the PlayStation.
Like not a single critic review says a fun challenge to overcome.
Although there's a huge disparity between the GameSpot review of it and the review website of record for NoClip, IGN. GameSpot liked it a lot more than IGN did.
And additionally, it was made by Traveler's Tales, who still exist, I think under a different name now, but they work on the Lego franchise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
from humble beginnings,
I'm waiting for Lego Rascal.
yeah, like they now have like one of the most successful game franchises.
Traveler's Tales has sort of a rough patch, obviously starting with this, the roughest of patches. But they also moved on and are like partially responsible for Crash Bandicoot getting bad in the 2000s. They
Yeah,
had,
like on
a
the
stint with
PS2.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they work with a lot of licenses as well, like on
Yeah.
their Wikipedia page.
But after like apparently 20 years of trying to get like this specific type of game for really, really young kids where you just run around as like a tiny, likable person and shoot things, they finally got it right after 20 iterations with
Yeah.
Lego Star Wars.
Well, yeah, because
Never give
Rascal
up.
represents such a complete failing on that front because it's difficult to run around. Rascal is not likable at all.
It's not
And
fun.
it's also barely a game. So,
Can we talk about how much each of us played of the game?
Sure.
It seems like we should start with that.
I guess that's a
All
fair. I am, like, actually blown away by the amount of this game that you and Steven managed to get through.
Yeah, so we did it all yesterday.
Yeah.
There was alcohol involved, but it didn't impede us
help.
really until the end. Well, we started about 10 in the morning and took a break for dinner. Really, that was it.
Yeah.
And we played the game straight up, and basically beat it.
Yeah.
We got to the final run of bosses in air quotes.
The boss rush at the
The
end.
Galaxy
And,
boss rush.
We for various reasons we'll get into later couldn't beat that. And so it was late, we were tired, and we thought, well, we'll just finish in the morning. And then this morning when I
Well, and I got up to play it this morning.
yeah
I went down and fired up the old PlayStation and went into the room to load and had the only options of quit and save.
it turns out when you
So-
turn
Oh.
off the PlayStation, it just erases your save game.
Yeah, I
Well,
assumed.
did you have a memory
Yeah,
card
yeah.
in the place?
Sure did.
Yeah, sure did. I assumed that Daniel deleted it on purpose, for someone and reason.
Like, just in a
Because
drunken stupor.
well,
like,
I never
"Ah, fuck
imagined
this game."
that a game would function in such a way that if you turned off your console, it would
It
erase your
erases your
saves.
but it does.
Maybe there's some kind of completely not at all signposted way to save the game in some specific stupid machine hidden in a corner of a single room.
I would believe that. But so yeah, for functionally we beat the game.
Right.
Although I sadly
We-
can't say
Yeah.
that we just beat it.
We did not earn our $20.
That's
Yes.
true. Andrew bet us $20 that we couldn't beat it.
Yeah, I lent them the game, and Daniel was like, how long do you think it'll take us to beat it? And I'm like, you're not going to beat it.
I like to think that even though you're not going to give us any money, we did prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Because we could have beaten it.
Okay, maybe I'll give you $10.
I drank less margaritas. I could have stayed up all
That's
night
true.
playing through a game and beat it. But
But there's more to come on
But-
on that last boss
so-
area, but we'll get to that.
But so Chad and I also played the game together.
I'd like to take a moment to point out at this time that between all 5 of us, there are 2 copies of the game, each of which were purchased for literally 1 penny. I bought one, I was like, oh, it's going to be 1 cent and then shipping. And it was, but then you could just increase the quantity of 1 penny games, and it didn't increase the shipping at all. So I like that I lent a copy out to JJ, and you lent the copy that we played to them,
Yeah.
just to save the extra 2 cents. Go on, though.
But yeah, so Chad came over to my place and we played. And he hadn't looked into the game at all. So I'm like, I'm hooking it up and I'm like, so do you know this game has tank control?
Even that's being a little generous.
Yeah, that's-
Agreed.
Oh god.
Right. As opposed to tanked control.
So
Actually,
we legitimately played through the first level, got to the end pad and didn't have all the pieces, and we're like, fuck this.
Within about an hour of starting the game, I was scrambling through the internet attempting to find an invincibility code or something. Just so
Which
that,
there is, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is, but we couldn't get it to work. Also,
We don't
we
know why.
weirdly found some codes for Rayman that were like incorrectly placed in the Rascal section, and then we found other codes that were actually for Rascal Racers, which is a different game.
Unrelated, yeah.
It is hard to find.
Unfortunately unrelated to Rascal.
It's hard to find any information about this game
Yeah.
online.
It's good. It's just it's a game that really is appropriately given its plot forgotten to time.
Just in contrast, to demonstrate how seriously Steven and I were taking this playthrough, when we finished the first level, we were like, wait, like, we only have 1 life left. Let's just quit. I'll beat the whole first level again with all 3 lives, so that we can just keep going with more lives.
That is an amount of patience that I can't even dream of having.
Yeah, in my case, I also have no history with this game, was given no warning in advance, other than the fact that I was like, oh, Chad, how much do I have to pay you back for ordering this game? And you said a cent. So I was like, oh, okay. I went through the first level, beat the dragon boss, and then when I killed it and nothing happened, I turned the game off.
You got farther than I expected.
Yeah, I anticipated you turning it on, like walking out of the kid's room and turning the console off. Because you already hate good platforms.
Yes. Given what I know about your video game preferences, I can't imagine a game that you would like less than this.
I was sad. I really wished that I had friends with me that could have like borne the burden of having to play through Rascal. It was just really sad by myself in this room. I had to like hook up my PS2 again, get everything all working, and that was what I was granted in exchange.
Yeah, I recall I was sitting at my computer desk, like with a headset on, playing Overwatch with people, and got a text from you that said like, how do you beat the dragon? And I just lost my shit. Like, I was like, I can't even. Like, you can't beat the dragon.
Andrew saved Steven and I from beating the dragon, because the one thing he did mention was just ignore the dragon. Yeah. Which we did. I walked in the room, I was like, oh, that's that dragon.
Yeah, I also beat it, and nothing happened. I was mad
What was the thought?
Well, you can get an extra life.
Yeah, I think the idea is just you run into the room, grab the life, and leave.
But it's so obviously a boss encounter.
I know.
It's also the only level that has that type of boss encounter.
It really is.
It's like a mini
that has
boss.
like a... Well, I guess maybe in the Hollywood episode, there's that spider. It's the only thing that's like comparable.
Oh, yeah. That spider's pretty much like that.
It's like if you figure out you can just walk 2 feet up the ramp.
There's also the merman.
In the room with
what was his name?
With the books,
Delphinus,
I think.
and the ruler.
I'm like losing my shit right now. Hold on, the merman.
Oh yeah,
the merman who's in the final boss run and who's in the Atlantis underwater episode.
Yeah.
I can elaborate on this a little, but it's still going to be a mystery for you.
Well, see, that's the thing. I actually played the Atlantis level and gave up when I had most of the stuff because I was just bored of it. And then I beat the boss rush, so I know about the merman, but I didn't know that he had a name.
And he's in the Atlantis level. He's in like the green door room. We played the game a lot yesterday.
Well, when you legitimately try, it takes a lot of attempts.
We were using a walk. So the first 2 levels or worlds we beat just like on our own, and then we realized like we need to walk through or else we can't beat this in a day. And so we got I think the only walkthrough of the game available.
It's hilarious.
To be fair, in case he's listening,
As the only
he's the only guy that cared enough about Rascal to write a walkthrough. He might be just combing the internet for Rascal content.
I would totally believe that.
So I will say, to be fair, it wasn't a bad walkthrough.
Right.
As far as walkthroughs go. But it was written, like, kind of hilariously, and you could tell by, like, a young child. Or maybe English was the second language, but, like, his syntax and sentence construction was really, like, stilted and hilarious. For, like, my favorite example is in the first Western world, his direction was, go outside, be sure to kill the cowboy, or he'll tan you a new hide.
My favorite was in the Hollywood level when you go into the little city and there's the reptile creature destroying things. It's like, take out the reptile first of all.
It's like, first off, take out the reptile. But anyway, that's a long way of explaining the fact that he somehow knew either that the characters were named or he just gave them names.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
so
I'm not sure which
I
I
think,
like better.
I think this game came with like a manual that like named all the characters.
It did.
That's
confirm.
Yeah, in
Okay.
classic video game
Yeah.
fashion.
So yeah, I had the same question though, because when he was like dropping proper nouns for these characters, like where, like, how did he know
where's
this?
this information coming
Unless
from?
it's just like the creator of Rascal
I mean-
wrote the walkthrough.
Yeah, or like somebody called Traveler's Tales like on a weird hotline.
I mean, if you hire Jim Henson's creature
That's
shop
true. I meant to mention this.
to
too. Did
design
you know
like
this?
some of the characters, you're probably gonna name
Jim
them.
Henson's Creature Shop designed Rascal,
Wow.
like the character Rascal.
Yeah. They design all the other characters in the game too. I assume not literally all of
I
them, but like
think-
the boss is the only one that even seemed Jim Henson-y.
Yes, I think
Right.
the Wikipedia page just said some characters.
Okay.
That would be super
I'm assuming, like,
appropriate
the
if it was
bosses.
just the final boss.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, because then this game goes from being like, you were a kid trying to rescue his dad from a Time Lord to like you are a poorly designed character trying to kill the only well-designed character in the game. Which
Wait,
becomes
who's
a
the
whole
well-designed one?
meta-
Chronon?
I mean,
Visually,
well-designed is
No,
a
I wasn't
stretch.
criticized. I'm just curious
Yeah.
which one you thought was
Yeah, it would
well-designed.
have been. It is.
It sure as hell
talented,
wasn't the
though.
Blastoise dragon or
the glitchiest character ever
or
made.
any other of the horrible characters.
The reason that I knew that there were proper nouns for the names because I found stills online of
You
like
read the novelization of
pages.
Rascal for
Yeah, yes. It was also 1 cent, so I was like,
Yeah, might
In
as well
lieu of
take that
playing
out.
the game.
Yeah.
But included among like just the list of proper names of all the characters is they had like a full description of like all of the Rascal's interests and hobbies.
I saw that
He
too.
does.
You have
It's,
it pulled
He,
up.
he likes
have-
like some kind of energy drink, right?
yeah, I googled the energy drink and couldn't find
Yeah, it's like not in the game at all.
it's made up. It doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
they were like, "What do kids like in the '90s?"
Yeah,
The way it
drinks.
reads, you would think it would be like the way to regain
Surge.
health or
Yeah.
something.
Power up of
It's-
some
it's
kind.
not even in the game.
Yeah, I just wrote down
Go
little
ahead.
selections, including his favorite movie, Men in Black. These are the Rascals.
Chad
Wait, is that
Rascal.
actually
Yes,
true?
this is in the manual. This is like
Wait,
things
it's in
that the
the-
Rascal like.
That's in the manual?
Yes.
I know, it says that his favorite TV show is X Files.
Yep.
Did they pay for the rights to even?
Man, that's kind of weird.
Titles?
They just, like, put it in the
Rascal's
manual.
tastes are
That's
so
why I
similar to
didn't need
ours. I feel bad now they've been shit talking him so much.
He likes
Well, I mean,
noodles. His,
I
I
also
also
love
should
the
talk
X-Files
Rascal
and-
specifically, but
That's true.
his fave place is Italy.
Dude, that's my
Italy.
favorite place. Have you seen his house?
Yeah.
His family is rich.
And very,
Okay,
very
fair,
tiny. Yeah.
fair.
They summer in Italy.
His favorite spice is scary.
oh, like Spice
Spice
Girl,
Girls.
got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a different. It was a different time.
It
And
was-
his
yeah.
top saying is "Cool it."
Cool. It's wait.
Cool it, Dad.
I can't imagine even as like a child being like like writing down like things to know about Chad and being like, what is my like my favorite phrase?
You didn't have a
Super
catchphrase.
good.
Like a catchphrase? Yeah, it was.
This was an activity his dad gave him to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's cool. I'm actually very glad you read that. I didn't know. I had seen there must be a description somewhere else. Maybe it was like a promotional for the game where it like describes Rascal and it like mentions this stupid energy drink and like the stuff he likes to do for fun.
So does Rascal ever? Ooh, okay, let's back up. Are there any like spoken words in this game at all?
He says "ow."
He
It's
doesn't.
hurt.
He doesn't pain sounds.
Yeah.
His pain
So
sounds.
I'm
Now,
glad
the whole
that they-
intro doesn't have any voice acting.
Yeah, the intro was phenomenal.
I'd love to talk about the intro.
Voices.
Okay, let's talk about the intro then specifically, because then we can start going forward until we get to the dragon, where I assume we're gonna just brick. and tank.
Because the intro is like part of why as a kid I thought this game was like mysterious and really cool.
Right.
Because like you watch, so put yourself in the shoes of like a 5-year-old. I don't know exactly
In
how old.
1998.
Yeah. And like you watch that intro and then you're dropped into this house with like lots of locked doors and like colored keys and you can't really figure any of it out. Like you would just assume it's gonna end up being really cool. Because they're like aliens in that intro. and-
Yeah.
Oh,
For
it's
some
like
reason.
yeah. I think they're aliens. I mean, they're riding around flying
Yeah.
saucers.
I thought they kind of looked like ants, but you know, whatever.
I can't speak
Maybe
for
they're
my-
aliens.
I don't have a response to that.
I can't speak for myself as a child playing this game because I didn't. But as an adult playing this game, I know that literally the first door that I mindlessly ambled into was the entrance to the first level. So, like, I wouldn't have even known that there were locked doors. I would have just been like, oh, level 1, I guess, and then quit immediately.
Well, as a kid, because I could only beat the first level, and even then, not really. I spent a lot of time just wandering around the house, like, trying to interact with shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember going to your house as a kid and playing this, and like the house like literally feeling like as cool as like the castle in Mario 64. Like it seemed so awesome, like in my memories.
Right.
It is not even like a fraction of as cool as the castle from Mario 64.
I mean, if you have the taste of a 5-year-old in 1998, the game does look good for a PS1 game. It's got some nice skins on it.
That's true. I currently have a Rascal iPhone background. From a screenshot we took of me staring at a particularly beautiful pink and blue.
Yes. That's from the Atlantis, the first Atlantis level.
Yeah.
Probably.
There are some visuals in this game that are solid. Like that. I mean, that I'd say that because I think the Atlantis level in particular stands out as being like a pretty good looking level for a PlayStation 1 game.
Yeah, in terms of like actual visual quality, I don't, with the exception of I guess some of the design, like especially in the enemies, they do tend to be just sort of like some dude who just bum rushes you when you walk into a room.
Yeah, the enemy design is terrible.
Yeah.
Or some dude who doesn't rush you or come over across as hostile in any way, and you still have to murder him.
Like the bartender.
Oh yeah,
what
kills the bartender?
This poor guy. Murder. Like if you got killed by that bartender, you have to kill him.
Yeah.
If you got killed by that bartender, you are the worst video game player in the world.
Yeah.
Like
you'd have to try.
You can't even shoot him from where he's throwing beer glasses.
Right.
Like, he just like throws them down at the end of the bar.
Well, that's the thing. I think it was a meta commentary because he is the worst video game player, and so you have to be the worst video because he's just playing beer tapper badly by throwing beers at no one across the bar and just losing all of his lives.
I think this game, like going back to like the visuals, is like graphically like good for the time, but like the art direction and visual design is just garbage.
Yep. Yeah, it's all over the place.
With a few exceptions of things that are cool.
The dragon is pretty much just a stuffed dragon that someone presumably had like to the left of him when he was
like on his
doing the
desk.
work.
Yeah, I mean, it even seems like the plot of the game is like designed to set up like a smorgasbord of like just random imagery.
And the plot doesn't even succeed in that. The opening cutscene, for as like interesting as it was at the time for people within that age group, doesn't explain like why you wake up in your room in the house, or
there's also really no way to know that you're time traveling.
Yeah.
Like you're just traveling to weird looking
There's
worlds.
no like just like little paragraph of text explaining what's happening.
Right, like an opening crawl or something. There was, and like, I don't know, I feel like I brought this up like right before we turned the game off and threw the PlayStation out of a window. But when we were back in his room at the end of the game, I remember noting that like most of the objects in his room related to the levels, which like calls into question the reality of the whole situation. Like, is this actually happening, or is this like some crazy like imaginary thing?
I mean,
that
it's
Rascal's
obviously
doing?
just his imagination.
Right. Yeah.
He's clearly in a dream world the whole time.
I don't know if it's obvious. I mean,
Well, in that case, like, where is his dad actually? Like, did he just like go to the store?
He left. It's him and his mother and his father left, and this is how he's coping.
It's
you guys
all
didn't get that?
It's all a dream. That's why he just falls into it.
I will say, I think
that
something that doesn't explain still, and is probably the biggest mystery in this game, is why the hell all the doors are so short.
Like his dad can't fit through those doors.
Like even he can't fit. Like they're kind of shorter than even he is.
Right. Yeah.
Like they aren't appropriately sized for any human being.
it's if you took off the backwards cap, his head would be perfectly flat at
Yeah,
the top.
like-
It would just skim underneath.
Like I don't really understand that choice.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's a common problem when you're developing a first-person shooter in making things seem proportionally the correct height to where you are without making your character seem either way too short or way too tall. But somehow they managed to include that problem in an entirely third-person game. They're like, how big do the doors need to be? Enough.
Yeah. But it wasn't even like it's not like they've just like scaled the door to the wrong size. The problem is that the door is shorter. This was a deliberate choice. They made like perfectly square doors.
It's nice and it's wide enough. It's just not even close to tall enough.
I don't know where to transition from that.
We need to talk about the first level, obviously. We need to talk about...
That's true.
Since
should
we
talk
all
about each
played
world.
the first level.
Yeah, past Castle.
Castle Pass.
I would say
Castle Pass.
I think Castle Pass might be the best level in the game.
I'm pretty sure it is undeniably the best level. They really put their best foot forward.
It wasn't a very good foot.
No, but it was the
But
best
it was
one
the
that
best
they
one
had.
they
I
had.
think we could all agree it's best music in the game.
Oh, certainly.
That's the best this game has done.
Yeah.
This game has clearly infected your minds.
Well, you just hear that same melody on loop for like
For life.
yeah.
After you hear it once, it just like gets stuck in there.
I mean, when I heard it this time, I immediately remembered it from when I was a kid. Like it is a memorable tune.
Then actually, that speaks a lot more to the sound design that I would have given it.
I mean that sincerely. I think that like the sound design on that level was pretty good, and I do think that level is pretty good relative to the rest of Rascal.
Yeah. The sounds that are present, because there are plenty of sounds that kind of aren't present or kind of abrupt, like all the enemy interactions, anything that like the larger people-sized enemies do. They don't really ever speak or make noise. They just sort of waddle your direction silently until you kill them. Yeah.
There was Andy and I were struggling to, at the end of our play session, complete the first level legitimately. Because at that point we had just been using the level select to just go to each world and play it for a while.
Uh-huh.
And so we were going through and we couldn't find the last piece. And it turned out that it was on this night enemy who we just didn't realize was there because we would just walk past where he was, and he didn't stomp around.
Wasn't it the room with the cannons?
Yeah.
So we're just like avoiding the cannonballs and didn't even
right.
notice that guy was there.
Yeah, he's just like meandering back and forth. It was like, oh.
Wait, what do you think of like the core mechanic of each level? Okay, I mean it's a real question. Like for a platformer, the idea that like in each world you have to get the hourglass pieces, you have to get the keys, and then you leave.
Right.
Oh, that's a horrible design. I think just generally.
I'm not defending it. I just want to talk about it.
I think like because there are other games that have done this, but I feel like it's literally just a lazy trick to make it so that they don't have to design more things. And I mean, there's an argument that you can make that like 3D Mario games sort of do this thing where it's like you have to collect like however many red coins or whatever. Right. But the thing about collecting red coins in a Mario game is that they're put in locations that are in themselves discrete challenges.
Yeah.
So you just sort of jump to it. In this game, they just sort of arbitrarily lay these things around.
Yeah, especially the hourglass pieces.
Yeah.
Because the hourglass pieces can be just like lying about, even in places that aren't hard to get to at all, or they can just like be random enemy drops that don't correlate in any way to enemy type or like location. So like it's like kill the pirate in like the second room gives you an hourglass piece, but a pirate like in a different room won't.
Right.
And it's just complete like you have no.
But a bird in another room will.
Yeah.
For no reason.
So there's really to like playing through this game like legitimately with no outside help. You would just have to kill everything, really, to go through and beat it.
And that is likely what happened on the underwater level,
incentive structure.
Which I got pretty far in. I got all but one collectible and couldn't find it. And I was using the just perfect map.
We didn't even know there was a map until Andrew pointed it out.
So I sent you an image.
I had forgotten.
Yeah, okay. To try and locate everything, and I likely the last piece that I needed was just like in a eel or something.
Were these the tile pieces?
Yeah.
Did you get the one in the cage? with like the puzzle with the colors. You had to push the totem piece to unlock the cages.
No.
It's outside like the first door of the forest room you get dropped in. You have
Oh,
to
man.
turn around and go outside, and
Interesting.
that's how you get the puzzle piece.
So this game has puzzles ever.
no,
Not as
it's
such.
not.
This game's idea of a puzzle is like
Match
the
red with red.
Yeah, in that Hollywood level, there's like a sound stage, like the one with the Godzilla monster in it, it's like a city, and you have to like just hit 3 buttons.
Yeah. There's another.
That's the puzzle.
They aren't puzzles. I think it would be more accurate to call it like an interactive.
The best,
Yeah.
the best
Gating
puzzle
mechanism.
is in the Aztec temple. There's a room you have to go through that has 4 platforms: a red, blue, yellow, and green. And you enter the room, having played other video games, thinking this is a puzzle. I must have to hit these in a certain sequence in order to open the door. When in reality, all you have to do is hit all 4 randomly colored buttons. So the puzzle is hit all 4.
Yeah. Press all of the buttons.
This just reminded me. The great walkthrough that we were using referred to Atlantis as the thinking man's level. And so naturally I played through that one. And thank God I did.
Jesus.
I don't think Steven could have beaten it with his meager level of education.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, Atlantis also brought into play, like, putting together a picture of a shell for no reason at all.
Yeah, that's
So-
the tile piece one I was talking
Yeah.
about. That level frustrated the walkthrough creator so much that he quit the game for 5 years before coming back to it and finishing it.
Wait. That means this guy,
Yep.
at the latest, wrote this walkthrough.
2003.
Yeah, I mean at the earliest, rather, in 2003.
Mhm.
That is unbelievable. Why would you come back in 2003?
Well, but yet here we are. 2016.
Like, why didn't he just play a good game?
Like Mario Sunshine.
Right, yeah. Came out in 2002. Metal
Or,
Gear
Sly
Solid
Cooper?
was out.
A Sly
Didn't
Cooper
even
would be
have
a
to
good
buy a
one.
new console for that.
Callbacks.
Pokemon Snap.
It's on a platform.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Platformer enough. Also,
Chrono
not, I don't think
Trigger?
released
Catherine?
2004.
Undertale?
Just keep it going, yeah.
Skyrim?
So
Dark Souls Part 1 or 2?
No, the Atlantis level actually did break me. Like, I was not willing to try that.
The Atlantis
more
level
than
was
once.
very difficult.
Yeah.
We played that one a lot.
It did include the most difficult piece to find, which was that one of the statues in one of the rooms was sparkling
You just had to shoot
very
it.
faintly, and that was indicating that you must shoot it to get the blue key. And that is used in no other level in the entire game. Is there a sparkling thing that
That you
means
need to
you
shoot.
have to shoot me to release a key?
That's true.
There was no reason you would think that going in or coming out later.
Was it implied, by the way, in the Atlantis level that you were underwater even though you weren't
No.
suffocated? Why were there fish?
That's a good question, especially because in the Atlantis future, the Atlantis is flooded and you're
Right,
underwater
yeah.
all the time.
Mm.
I don't know why there were fish floating around.
All right.
I say
good.
yeah, because with the first area of the Atlantis is like there's like a waterfall, so it has to be above water.
Yeah.
That waterfall gave Steven fits.
Yeah,
it
Could
gave
knock
Chad
out the
fits.
Yeah, well,
Steven died like every time he tried that waterfall. But thankfully, once we realized it was the thinking man's
Yeah,
level,
well, we had a thinking man who could be patient enough to climb the waterfall.
Yeah, no, I attempted the waterfall and lost all of my lives on, like, the first platform. And was like,
I know
Andy,
that
what
game.
the fuck is this shit? And so I loaded into it a second time and then just did it on my first try. And I was like, as I'm going up, I'm like, Andy, how am I doing this?
See, I honestly didn't find the waterfall challenging at all, but later on, like 2 rooms later, those little lily pad shaped things that moved.
Yeah.
I died on those so many times.
Yeah.
I almost rage quit. I died so many times.
I can't,
on those.
like, okay, when you die in this game, you go back to, like, your last save.
No, the game restarts and then you have to go to the save load room, and then load and then hope that you don't accidentally save and overwrite your game.
Gotcha.
Good.
So, you dying on those lily pads represents, like, a massive chunk of time.
Yes, because you have to, like, restart the game, hit start, walk into the save room, load, walk back to the world, get back to where you were, and complete. And keep in
Climb
mind
the
that because we
waterfall,
were
yeah.
playing it, like, legitimately.
Right.
Although we tried to preserve lives between worlds, we largely weren't successful. So,
They'd start each
like
new
2
level with,
worlds
like,
in,
no health.
we started off with like not full health and 0 lives left. So like 1 death was it.
Yeah.
Right. That's ooh.
Yeah,
Man, that
it was
horrifying.
it was tough, especially because like when the level would place, like the Frogger type obstacles,
Yeah.
I found to be the hardest, and those would almost always be placed like near the end of the level.
Mhm.
So it was pretty frustrating too.
And over like an arbitrary instant death trap, because there would be
Yeah.
sometimes when you could jump into water and it would trigger a cutscene.
Yes, I know. No, when the Aztec level is like the first time
Yeah.
water won't kill you,
Right.
And that level took like 5 times as long as it otherwise would. Because like man, like this is the second level, so we weren't using the walkthrough.
Right.
We were like, man, like where's this hourglass piece? And then we eventually were like,
Yeah,
all
we
right, let's
finally
just look
broke
it
down.
up.
Yeah.
And I had been calling it the well of like deadly, deadly water.
Jump into the well.
Turns out it was a life-saving hourglass piece.
Yeah.
So since my experience with this game ends at that dragon, are all of the future levels like as constrained where you're just in like very tight dungeony corridors and rooms?
No.
Okay. That's good. Then I'm confused why
A lot of them
It's
are
not that
cramped
good, don't worry.
spaces. though.
No, yeah, I mean,
Well, the spaces feel even more cramped because when you walk into a door, the camera angle it frequently gives you is just an overhead shot of yourself, and you have no idea if an enemy's coming or if you're about to walk.
it
up.
would
You
very
can't
frequently
see
be the case where
anything.
you just walk in a room and immediately start shooting because if there was an enemy, it was gonna kill you.
Yeah. And especially considering ammo is not actually really a constraint. Like all it does is it do more damage? Or
Yes,
is it, like,
it does more damage and travels farther.
Okay.
It's I think when you get the power up when you have it full, like the bubbles are homing bubbles,
Yeah, well, yes, they travel,
but they don't always work.
Yeah.
So it's a gradient. They always, to the extent that they do travel, they always track enemies. Blue bubbles hardly travel at all.
Right.
Red bubbles travel the farthest, and also with that, like it does more damage.
Right.
The bubble gun is weird. It
Yeah.
feels weird.
I find it really amuses me because I just discovered this when I looked up the information for this game. Rascal, as we know it in North America, was known as Bubblegun Kid in Japan, which is like, I think they like thought that through because Bubblegun Kid focuses on like the shittiest aspect of this game, which is the terrible weapon that you're given. Whereas in North America, they knew to focus on the real selling point, which is that the kid's an asshole. They're like, oh, just call it Rascal. I'm sure that the asshole kid was kicked around for a while.
it's, the gun feels
Butch Cassidy
weird.
and the asshole.
Asshole kid.
Like not just because it's so weak, not just because it has all the effect of actually shooting a gun that fires bubbles at the things that are
Yeah,
threatening
it
you.
does feel like a bubble gun.
Right, and the other reason that it feels that way is because when you hit things with things,
There's
nothing
no
happens.
consequence.
Yeah, there's no-
until they're dead.
You can't tell if they're taking damage.
That's why I asked you if like how do I beat the dragon? I thought shooting it did nothing, just
Right.
stone nothing no matter what I
Yeah,
did.
the dragon will at least like flash red when you hit it, right? But like not really.
Well,
like, it's
a
like
veteran-
it looks like it could just be like a graphical error.
A veteran Rascal player can tell you that the way you can tell if you're doing damage is that tiny orange bubbles will cascade off of the enemy when they're being hit.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But we didn't learn that until like hour 8.
Yeah, unfortunately,
They're
there's
already in
only
boss
one
battles.
veteran Rascal player on the planet, and he wrote that walkthrough.
Send us an email. We'll send you a good job.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, was there a track that we were on that we could return to?
We were talking about the first level.
Yeah.
And then we talked about all the other levels.
Well, look,
Fair.
I've got more on the dungeon, which is you said earlier that you thought the dungeon was the high point of this game, which again,
It probably-
relative.
Yeah, it's all relative.
But
I didn't reflect on it that much.
there's no reflection going on here at all. But like, it's the reason I asked if the remainder of the game was in these constrained corridors is because it works so poorly with both the camera and the movement system that I couldn't imagine that could possibly be best if you're like both incapable of moving and seeing things in front of you.
No, that's always true, even if
Oh
you're
yeah,
outside.
dude, the game really opens up when you realize that you can press L2 to center the camera, and it also makes you press L2 a lot and it just not work sometimes.
Did you figure out that you can press L1 to like use an air brake?
Oh yeah, the air brake. I could not imagine playing this game
No, the
without
game is
air brake.
unplayable without it. If you press L1, you like stop on a dime.
What?
We didn't
Yes.
know that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because and it's the reason we should say it's a problem is that
doesn't tell you.
Rascal's normal movements are like you jump and land and then walk 3 feet in a random direction.
I have a note here that literally says you control like a jumping tank on roller skates.
That's
Yeah.
exactly true.
Yeah,
Dude,
but that
until
tank
you
has
know
a
about
brake.
the brake.
And
Yeah.
I thought about this for so long because we always had these conversations about the game when we were playing through, where it described the movement was like it's like tank controls, but when you turn, you also move a little bit. Like
when you
that.
turn left and right, you just move in random
And then
directions.
I realize why this is the case. Drift is perfect because they're car controls. They're like PS1 era moving around an actual vehicle.
Right. They just mapped the like accelerate button to the D-pad analog, like so that when you go to move, you also will propel yourself forward a little bit.
Right, like the turn makes sense if you think about the Rascal as if he is a car, because you have to like the way the wheels work. You always have to turn and you always move a little bit forward. You can't just spin on a dime when you're a four-wheeled vehicle.
Right.
I feel like something in the first level that really illustrates how challenging the controls are, because of how poorly they've been made.
I really hope it is the thing that I was about to say.
Is it's very innocuous, so probably not.
It might be.
But it's the little like curved bridges.
Yes!
like that should be literally challengeless. Like on a 0 to 10 scale, that's like a 0 or maybe a 1. Like
I'm
you,
so
it, like,
excited that you like also
Yeah.
like map that out.
and-
You were like,
but with the Rascal controls, like you started the bridge and you literally have to take a second and like think
You have to-
about how you're gonna get to
You
the
have
other
to
side.
you have to like hit like up.
You have to
left,
kind of
up
like
left, up
zigzag
left,
your
up
way.
left.
Especially given that
Up
the
left.
camera is looking at you and you can't see the bridge in front of you to know how much it's curving.
That's no, like, because that's the thing. That is a thing that shows up at the end of the castle level. Like, it is a prescribed challenge. They knew that the controls were so bad that a way to make a difficult challenge for the player
move
is
a
just
little bit to
put
the
a
left.
curved pathway. Like, if at some point your level designers are like, I think the best way to challenge the player here is to make them go in like an ellipse. Basic movement on a level plane. You should rethink how your game is designed. And that's level 1. Presumably the first level they made.
Yeah.
Although interestingly, that movement pattern doesn't really recur in the game.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's like an interesting point and something that really like stuck out to me about this game is like I can't believe this made it to like a finished product. Like this seems like so problematic and just like poorly designed that like I can't believe it wasn't canceled.
Oh yeah.
I might want to push back on that slightly. So I don't want to be like, I'm not a Rascal apologist.
Yeah.
Even though it was all your idea.
But,
for this
and I'm actually not even sure that I believe this to be true, but I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
Like, granted, all the problems the game has, we haven't even talked about them all yet. It's not a well-designed game, and it is bad.
Let's take a break.
Let's start from that.
Yes.
But like, from like a quality control perspective, I'm not sure that this game is like that flawed. Like, the problems in the game are like in concept and design. Execution.
You know, like the most important
No.
things in a video
Listen.
game.
I agree. I'm not an apologist. If I was an apologist, I would argue with that. But from like an execution standpoint, it's not a game that has like a ton of glitches or like a ton of
Okay.
like errors.
Except for the fact that
Well,
you
he clipped through the boss fight once, but like,
just running
like, but it was
fell into nothing.
it was a PlayStation 1 game. Like that wasn't that uncommon in that era, even
Right,
for
right.
like well-made games.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
I think what you said about the game being canceled it would be more believable if like it was just so poorly executed. Like the coding was so bad
Right.
that it was like borderline unplayable.
But like
I don't think that that's true.
But like when
It's
you
borderline unplayable
Right.
for other reasons.
True. Like, yeah, when you sit and you think about it, though, like, if I hadn't bet you that you couldn't beat it, you probably would have played it as much as we did. Like, I bet most people, like, 95% of people who put this in won't beat the first level.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's like a whole like cottage industry of awful games that are still being produced now that just people just make games and release them and just like hoping people will buy them. Like they're just like so low effort and low cost to produce. That there are companies that just churn out these terrible games. Because it makes money over time.
Like Madden.
But this could.
I don't think that's what it was at the
Sick
time.
brand.
though.
Yeah, and this game couldn't possibly have been that low cost. They hired the Jim Henson company
that is a good
to
point.
design the
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, I
of
mean,
Rascal.
I really don't think that's. Again, I don't think that's what's going on here. Like, I think this was just like a really poorly designed game,
Yeah.
not like a poorly made.
I can't believe that, like, I guess.
It's mildly poorly made. I mean, you talk about like
Just
the
keep
hit...
in mind it's 1998. Like,
Yeah, but look at the other games that have Spyro Dragon. I mean,
that's
what
true.
is-
I did look up a list of contemporaries for this game to like put it in
Yeah,
context.
this is like
And
2
they don't
years
have
after
these-
Mario 64.
They don't have
Yeah.
these god awful like the small like what part of a platform are you going to jump onto and land on, and what part is your head just going to go
Oh,
through
yeah.
for no reason?
Yeah,
Like-
think of like those just like platforms
That's
that
true.
are like
the
stairs.
platforms
That's
in
true.
the
Yeah.
And like
platformer.
there are ones that like you just slide off and jump through for no reason.
I'm really curious because obviously since this game has an option to configure the analog stick to
Right.
be used, it was a game that assumed that the analog stick existed when it was released,
Right.
but it wasn't assumed that you would have it.
Right.
So this is before like the PlayStation controller with analog actually was like a standard thing.
Mhm.
How did like Spyro the Dragon control? Like
God, I don't remember.
presumably with the
Spyro
D-pad,
didn't come
and you
out
just
till-
use it by sliding your thumb around.
It had
on
an analog stick, I think. Am I
Spyro
wrong
didn't
about
come
that?
out till like 99, I don't think.
Metal Gear
Okay.
Solid was
No,
98
Spyro
too,
was
right?
98.
Was
I
it?
only know that because I looked up this list. But
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but Metal Gear Solid is like one of the best examples of tank controls being like an actually good game. It's like that and like the original Resident Evil. We used
But
for
even then,
purpose.
you had there
Which
was
came out
directional
before this.
movement.
Yes.
That's
In
Right.
because Metal Gear Solid was not tank controls. Metal Gear Solid had angular movement that you could do, or at least at the very least not tank controls in like the strictest sense, because it had a fixed camera as well. So for a lot of it, but basically the question is like that was just a decision that they made, was to make the controls the way that they did, and that is kind of the question I have about why.
I'm telling you,
Because they had
okay.
to have played other games.
So the one thing that came to my mind as like a comparison point was Croc. I don't know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
popular Croc was, or like what percentage of people played it.
I
I
would
hate
say that people are
platformers,
aware of it.
and I know what Croc is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like Croc controlled to my memory the same way, and he was also floaty and drifted. But like they designed the game around that, where there's like big wide paths and open levels.
Oh, not tiny little lily
Yeah, not
pads
tiny
that are
little-
floating on
yes.
deadly water.
And like I
Move
used
very quickly.
I used to
Deadly,
think
deadly
that was
water.
like a great example of like a poorly designed early 3D platformer. That game just like reeks of effort compared to Rascal. Like that game looks so much better by comparison.
I love the idea that effort is a smell and that bad things don't smell in comparison. Rascal has no scent.
Oh man, I think we should take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about all the things that we liked about this game. So thank you for listening. We can actually take a break.
Yeah, I think we should.
All right. I'm just gonna roll with it. So,
Wait, actually, do your thing. That's gonna all get cut.
no, it's staying in.
Even the part where I said it's gonna get cut.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all staying in.
That would be something you guys would do.
Yes. So, my first moments with this game, like, because Chad gave me the disc, and I just like booted it up to see if it worked or not. But we paid 1 cent for it on the internet.
Turns out it was pornography.
Yeah. But it did. But so I turned it on, and like I went into the first level, and I like the enemies spawn out of bubbles. Like some of them do. The
They
smaller
burst
enemies.
into existence.
Yes, they just spontaneously like just pop into existence, and then like so. And this game has tank controls, so like I just got like attacked blindly from behind by like some rats, and like I killed them, and didn't realize they would just spawn immediately again.
Yeah.
And like got killed in the first room by rats because the controls and the camera are so bad, and the enemies like just respawn immediately after they're dead. And it's like you get like the enemies just charge you, and since it's tank controls, it's hard to back up and shoot them with a gun.
Yeah. Did you learn about the jump stomp?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did realize you could jump on the enemies, but I still
Yeah, the stomp is just
really critically
is
important for those
way
enemies.
better than shooting.
Yeah.
Because even though there's no like real Z-axis aiming involved, you can shoot the rat even if the bubble looks as though it's going to go over top of it. Actually aiming at something that is that small and moving that quickly is impossible given the controls that you have. And so it's just way easier to let it come toward you and then just double tap X to stomp them.
That's
And-
why the bats are probably the hardest enemy in the game. They're like literally
Any of the flying
unhittable.
ones.
Yeah.
And those like the bubble enemies are probably might be my least favorite feature of the game. They seem completely gratuitous. They don't add anything interesting or like even really challenging in like a meaningful way. They're just annoying, and they really highlight how poor both the controls and camera are. Because you like what happened to Andy, you just frequently get hit for seemingly no reason.
yeah, from stuff that comes at you from off camera.
And it's partly because of the way that they spawn. 'Cause it's not like they're just like these little like extra enemies in the room, which would be one thing. Like I don't know how the algorithm works that chooses when and where to spawn them, but like hilariously, you'll just be like walking across the room and hear like a pop sound because like the computer was trying to spawn one where you were walking and it just gets killed immediately. And like not infrequently, you'll be unlucky enough to be in like that sweet spot where it just spawns it right before you get there, so that you just walk into it and take damage.
Yep. And it seems totally arbitrary as to like what will actually deal damage to you and what won't. Because like we spoke already that like occasionally you can dive into water and swim around, and other times it's just an immediate loss of life. But there are also just like things on the ground that hurt you for no reason. Where in the beginning of the game it made sense to some extent because there'd be like fire that was just there.
The flaming pots.
Yeah, so it makes sense that would hurt you. It doesn't make sense that it's there, but it makes sense that it hurts you. And you have to kind of jump to get to it. So it's like a punishment for playing the game. Whereas it's not really an obstacle, because at no point do you need to jump anywhere near them. But then later, like, Andy died to a flower on the ground. Like, he wasn't moving. There was no indication that it was anything other than scenery. But it dealt damage to him. And it's baffling.
Yeah, I remember that flower. It was it's on the Aztec level or the lumberyard when you have to jump across the river.
Oh my god, that river.
Where like you have to
it might be the most challenging thing in the
this
game.
is another problem with the game that I can't believe hasn't come up yet. Is the lighting.
Oh,
yes.
sorry.
This game is at times so dark that you can't see anything that like you need to see. And this river is one of them. It's like a river of black sludge where you have to jump on like one little round log. And then, but to get to that, you have to jump on a floating log that like passes by. It's like one of the Frogger challenges.
Almost impossible
Yeah,
to see.
so it's so dark that you can't see it coming. There's like a tiny window where you can get it, and then there's like a middle section where there should have been a third log, and there just wasn't. So you had to lose health to get across
there's
the
no
river.
way.
And because Steven and I were playing it like normally, this was one of the times where we had like 0 lives and no health. And so like the first time I went to go across that river, I remember like walking up and be like, all right, let me back up. Because I backed up like even though running starts don't do anything. It's just a mental thing.
Well, that's
for me.
not entirely true. We during a particular platforming challenge on level, it was in the Aztec level where you have to like pull one switch to like extend some platforms so you can get up the wall. It's just a sheer wall with platforms on there. Like, we need to do a platforming challenge. How about the most literal platforming challenge imaginable? There was a point where, like, if you just tried to walk and jump to it, you couldn't make it. But if you backed up, and I don't think it's because the game has, like, preserved momentum or something.
Yeah.
Like a game with thought put into it. It might. The game just, like, You just need time for the game to register that you're moving forward.
So I back up as I do, and just step on this flower and immediately die. We had no health, and it was like such a classic like Rascal moment, where it was like just
Classic
meaningless death that will result in like really frustrating repetition of stuff we've already done.
Because you got to go way back. I mean, you go back to your bedroom, go load the game, go downstairs,
Kill that chainsaw guy.
dude.
Jump up the log, suspended logs, press a button.
You get
Jumping
back
up
to
those
the
logs.
river, and okay, don't step on the flower. Now let's focus on how we can't see the logs we have to jump on, and they're moving too fast to time the jumps anyways. So we had to give up and go play a different level so we'd come back with some more health.
That was one that we had to give up on.
That's yeah. That actually raises a pretty good point. That is a Rascal moment, but I'm starting to think that the game, I think that we've been erroneously referring to the lead character as Rascal. I think he is the bubblegum kid, and the game itself is the Rascal.
That seems more literally true.
Yeah.
Also, that chainsaw guy was such an escalation from everything previously seen before that I remember being miserably taken off guard when I just walked into a room and there was a guy with a chainsaw.
Also, interesting side note. There's an immortal snake in that room. I ignored all ancillary enemies.
Yeah.
So, the small enemies never dropped hourglass pieces, so I never bothered with them. Steven, who just generally is more destructive and has more rage inside of him than I do,
That's true.
was trying to stomp it out and got killed twice.
Yeah.
The snake just won't take damage.
Yeah, it must
Or
have been
attack you.
Yeah, it
you
must
have to go after the snake. To
Yeah,
get
it must have been a programming error where they he can't die and he doesn't attack you.
Yeah, he just had no damage.
I think it was
collision,
supposed to be
yeah.
Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec.
Oh, it's Quetzalcoatl. The rainbow surfer.
It was the Aztec level, so.
Jesus. Talking about the stomp again reminded me. This game, specifically the stomp animation, thinking back on it, really helped me appreciate how much selling an animation really makes things believable in a way that, even when unexamined, wouldn't be the case. Because the stomp animation in Rascal really just looks like you were jumping, and then an invisible giant just picks you up from the sides and
throws you down.
pulls you to the ground.
Yeah, you just slide to the ground really fast.
Yeah, a great comparison point is in Jak and Daxter, one of your primary modes of attack in that game is the ground pound, during which you sort of do a flip and dive straight down, you completely change your angle and go down from head first.
Yeah.
Whereas in Rascal, you just sort of alter the effects of gravity momentarily.
Yeah, it's just your regular jump, but they just speed up. You come
Your
down.
descent, yeah. They just did not give a shit
With
at all about that.
a half-ass sound effect.
Yeah.
It's my rendition of the sound effect.
So, one of probably the worst aspects of this game that we've discussed is the fact that you have to spend so much time in each level trying to locate each hourglass piece.
Yeah.
Now, while containing no information that would actually aid you in that, the game does include a map, which I'm just gonna upload this screenshot, this iPhone photo that I took, and put it in the show notes so that people listening to this can really experience it.
Good.
The map in this game is so trash. It is one of the worst maps I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like trying to do that Doom or Metroid Prime 3D map thing,
Right.
but it ends up looking like an IKEA
Instruction manual.
but drawn by a child.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was I'm not sure if this map of Castle Past is showing me that I can go down from the right grain silo, or if it's showing me that I need to insert part A into slot B to build a nightstand. I'm at such a loss.
Yeah, if you haven't played the game and are listening to this for lulz or whatever, Google image the maps in this game. Nothing will probably come up.
So once you fail to do that, look in the show notes.
Right.
Chad
We'll
helpfully
have
posted the screenshot.
Yeah, but you have to do it all in that order.
Yeah.
It really,
Please do that.
it really is just like if you reached into the trash can of like a 4th grade child who's like interested in video games and like trying to create shit, there's like a relatively high chance you could pull out of that trash like a relatively accurate rendition of the map from Rascal. It's just supposed to be like a piece of graph paper.
It does look like a child was like pretending to create a video game level, and it's like, here's the map.
Well, there's even like in the lower right corner next to this like impressive, nicely shaded doodle of like of a knight's helmet. There's a fucking pencil. Like it's like literally
Like
Rascal drew this map. Yeah.
It's like a photorealistic pencil too.
That's
It really is.
It's probably just fucking clip art or something.
Yeah. It's not like a 3D model. They probably actually photographed
Yeah,
the pencil.
Yeah, I think it's a photo of a pencil.
Yeah.
It's not clip art.
This is some nice character development for the Rascal, and then it suggests that he has this
Well, he's got this artistic side.
yeah, he's got this
Yeah.
incredible memory for space, and he can just draw
He
like
just like sketches out a perfect 3D map of an area. The greatest architects in the world cannot even dream to come up with be able to that accurately represent 3D space.
Oh, this is a complete aside, but I'm gonna ignore that. This is a complete aside, but this just occurred to me that did you know that in the story of this game, complicated as it is, Rascal's dad works for NATO. He's like the official NATO scientist, and he's building like the time travel machine for NATO.
What purpose does NATO have for?
I mean, it seems like NATO would want a time.
Well, I mean, but that's arbitrary. That's like saying I imagine NATO likes food and air. Like anyone would want a time machine.
I don't know if like Chronon is like anti-NATO, if they have like similar objectives.
Was NATO
Probably
like
not.
super topical in the 90s?
I mean,
why does
Desert Storm.
Yeah, I guess.
why does
It's
NATO
just so
want
weird.
the time machine
Wait,
more?
do
Why
you
are
know
they willing
what?
to fund it?
Yeah. Do you know what like Chronon is like?
What's
is,
his motivation?
Yeah, he's a mix between Galactus and Jafar from the left, and he's already a god, I think, but wants to become even more godly by being able to control time, despite being named Chronon and already having time powers.
Yeah, like what?
Like he can already time travel. I don't know why maybe NATO is gonna go after him. He's the next Saddam.
Oh yeah, he had to get the time machine out of NATO's hands so that they would not be able to oppose him across the time
I
stream.
think that's...
Yeah, like he was being a time lord. Chronon was only aware of Earth's history as a whole, and so
Yes, time is not linear.
NATO to him sounded like an ancient Greek hero, and so he rose up to oppose him. But it turned out to be a trade organization.
That's why he was so had that weird expression on his face in the cutscene when he came to steal the data. He'd be like, "You're NATO?" He was just,
Yeah, you don't seem
But,
like a ripped dude with a sword.
Nothing's glistening on you.
As long as we're talking about Chronon, because I have a lot of thoughts about him.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Just put yourself in his shoes,
No.
and how
He doesn't have
how
shoes.
surprised he
No
must
feet.
be, God that he is, to have been ultimately foiled by a rascal like this child
With a
who
bubble
has
gun.
no powers or anything and just a bubble gun.
We've established he can manipulate gravity. That's
True, that is a power. That's what the blob does.
and he might secretly be a car. So I really want to make
He
sure he
might be a
knew.
car. That's true.
I mean, they did the developers of this game did make it a Herculean effort
Yeah.
to be able to beat the game. So, I mean, it could be realistically challenging.
Yeah.
That being said, for being a god himself, Chronon's boss fight is he throws 5 fireballs at you,
And some dreidels.
and then some dreidels, and then waits.
Either that or Beyblades. It's unclear.
There's sundials.
Oh.
They ambiguous. Reasonable people can disagree. They're either dreidels, sundials, or Beyblades.
Why did they
Let
make
But the main thing is he has to put his shield down to throw it, and then he
Right.
just waits for you to
Just
shoot
come
him
on the
before.
podcast. I'm very excited.
Wait, puts
again.
the shield back up.
Yeah.
Right.
Shout out to Beyblades.
Why didn't they make a Beyblade that was a sundial? That would've been, I guess it would be unbalanced. Yeah, that I guess also calls it.
That's probably why they.
And the
Probably why they did
the
it.
toy relies entirely.
They would
on
just ruin the
balance,
metagame of
They
Beyblades.
just take a Beyblade and like put the little like zip tie thing into it, and you just a literal sundial.
But if we're gonna talk about the bosses, actually, I wanted to interject with something else because
Well,
it just makes
yeah.
sense to me to talk about the boss at the end. So I wanted to talk about the skateboarding half pipe challenges. So I shout out to IGN again. IGN thought that the only redeemable part of this game was the like surf challenges. I thought that they were probably one of the worst parts of this game. We hated them so much.
I watched a video of it. It looked like from the recordings that they kept putting obstacles like directly around corners, and
Yes.
you travel the corners faster
Yes.
than your
They-
camera.
they
All
were-
of the corners were blind corners.
So yeah, they
Yes.
they
And there was
they
stuff
definitely
in your way
varied in
every time.
difficulty, but they were almost universally like a total crapshoot. And because we were going in with like 0 lives, it was like the worst part. It was the one part of the stage where you couldn't like with really good planning like give yourself a good shot.
Yeah.
It was just like, all right, I'll close my eyes and hope I make it through this time.
yeah, the one in this Atlantis level
Yeah.
was the worst because it was so dark.
It was so dark that we had to.
Yeah.
The way that we beat it was we played it again and again,
And
just
memorized
memorizing where we
Yeah.
got hurt.
right, left, right,
And
right,
then
middle,
I
right,
just went
left,
through
middle.
and Steven just like called out directions, and we made
He was
it
in the
through.
dark entirely, just moving.
Yeah, it was so
Yeah,
frustrating.
the only thing you could see was when the rock hit you. You saw it.
Yeah,
That's it. So you just had to die. Probably.
there was like a heart that you
Yeah.
couldn't reach. Like even like
Taunting you.
That's just a thing that this game did. It would be like put a power up over a pit, and you
Yeah.
couldn't get it at all. So, like for example, in Castle Past, there's a heart that's just off the side of a platform that you can only get to by getting to that so it's at the top of one of the grain silos.
Okay.
And if you jump, you go into the grain silo, which then means that to get that like quarter of a heart of health, you have to then redo like 8 consecutive rooms to get back to where you were.
Also, there's no knowing how much life that heart is going to
yeah,
give.
it's completely arbitrary.
Compl-
Sometimes it
varies.
gives you half. and
It's
sometimes
not
like
noticeable at
12.
all, or it almost refills it sometimes. You have no idea. It could come from a rat that you kill. A tiny little heart pops up and like, oh, full health. But then-
Also, the rats randomly drop poison.
yeah, that's also
Like as
fun.
if
Oh,
they're not
yeah.
annoying enough.
It took me like it was. I managed to finagle the camera in such a way to get a close up of the icon because like we had no idea that that was happening at all, and just like I happened to zoom in and was like, oh.
The skull and crossbones.
Yeah, it's poison. But no, on the skateboarding challenges, the sliding bits, I remember like seeing it the first time and being like, this seems fun in comparison to the unfun mess that the rest of the game is. And then I played one. And it is not fun at all,
No.
and in fact is even less like interesting than it initially seems. Because when you look at it, you think like, oh, like you're doing like with momentum, you're like sliding left and right. It's literally just like a toggle between
Yes.
3 areas.
Yeah, they're literally just put there to do chip damage to you. Like, you cannot avoid all damage on those slides.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it would just be literally just complete random chance.
Yeah.
If you're able to avoid
All of them
everything
were.
with
The
first
only
try.
one that you could actually go through without taking damage, or at least without like a ton of effort, was the mine shaft one, because it was the shortest, had the fewest obstacles, and like the least blind corners.
And all the obstacles were on the side, so if you just stayed in the middle, you wouldn't
there was
get
only
there.
like one in the middle, so you could stay in the middle like the whole time. And
Just
So
eat
if
that
you
one
literally
hit.
didn't press a button, it's like the most successful route.
That's how I got through one of them, because I literally, like, my guessing had been hurting me more than just like, all right, I'm
Just
gonna
eat
ride
all the
through.
ones in the middle. I mean, it's only 3, so I'll survive. But you're better off doing that than running into 8 of them on your way
That's
down.
true.
Why does this game have the design sensibility of like a classic arcade game in 1998?
Right.
Oh,
or
that-
like a
that's the
modern
one.
free-to-play game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
speaking of arcade sensibilities, and you guys have talked about this in like prior casts and something Andrew and I like talked about briefly last night. I don't understand why this game has a life system, and I really want to know. I sincerely think that it has got to be more than just arcade games had lives, and so this game should have lives. Like, these are like adults, and it's their job to design games. Like,
Look what they
surely
gave us.
they're not just like Neanderthals who are like, all games before this had this, so therefore all games in the future must also have it.
We initially, when we talked about this, God, I think it was in Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, I don't remember.
Probably.
Yeah,
I
probably.
believe is when we talked about this originally, and we brought up the arcade comparison. That, I believe, is just the beginning of the trend in console games. But it had just become like a standard. Like, if you're making a platformer, you got a live system. Like, it's just, there wasn't an example that wasn't true for. It was as ubiquitous with the platformer as jumping was.
I also think that in suggesting that like they're Neanderthals for that, like realizing the unnecessary nature of the live system in so many modern games, sort of takes for granted that it's not really anyone's job, especially in the olden days, to be just the designer. Like, even in the modern days, the number of people who are employed to make video games that are video game designers is such a small percentage overall of the number of people who work on games, and there are games that get produced even to success that don't have, like, dedicated designers. The problem and the reason that games like this get created is because everyone's job is a subsection of the game. It's to do, like, one little thing, to design one little part, and no one talks to each other if you don't have the proper sort of structures built into the organization. And everyone thinks that it's all just going to work up to this fine whole that they're imagining in their head because they don't see what anyone else is doing. And it turns out that everyone in Rascal's Chase was doing poorly.
So that was an aside.
Well, we also played most of the game with no lives.
That's
to
true.
spare.
Yeah, just the
So-
live's really not even necessary.
Except for to avoid the just irritation of restarting.
Yeah, their job was to make a game. And I guess this is as good a thing as any to lead into what my biggest takeaway from Rascal was, which is that I think this is one of the best examples of a game that was designed exactly in the like Neanderthal fashion you're making fun of, which is just like paint by numbers, video games have this, so we're going to have this to try and be appealing to people with games, without considering not only the implications of that, which happens all the time in games, but not even like knowing enough about games to understand the reason those things exist. Like, oh,
Like
we
the
need a
puzzles.
yeah, really, like the puzzles with the switches, where you're like, oh, we really need switches in rooms that open doors, but we normally conceptualize that that's supposed to be a thing that we're thinking about when you work through them. We have to have some kind of like dragon boss who's here, but there's no actual reason to defeat him, and you don't gain anything for doing so, and he doesn't stand in your way in any meaningful sense, and he's not challenging to your skills or fun to work through. It's like every single function of this game was something that I can imagine a marketing team being like, yeah, that's something that is generally popular within this demographic. Let's implement that. And they didn't build a game. They just built like a list of scenery, which is why I imagine that the one thing that they put money into this project was to make it like look relatively good for the time.
Right.
Because that's all they had in mind. They were like, oh, we need like Mayans and like a cool Atlantis place and some knights and dragons and
Well, that's the thing, is like, they didn't even necessarily have like the idea of like, oh, we want to include these locations. They're all just the standard fucking locations from shitty video games forever.
yeah.
Like, every video game in the like SNES to PlayStation 2 era had a fucking Western zone and a space zone and all this garbage. And like, I'm amazed there wasn't like a dinosaur zone. in this game.
Well, you
about
did have to fight a
there was
dinosaur.
You do fight one dinosaur. There's a dinosaur out of time, but you never went to the Cretaceous period.
No lava level either.
That's true.
There was lava.
There was
There was lava, but there
lava
wasn't like a
level.
full lava level.
You guys are not being fair to Rascal. There was a dinosaur and lava. There was a
They met the point in this expectations way more than you're giving them credit for.
Yeah. I dare you to name something that wasn't in Rascal.
That would be difficult to do. It's like a cornucopia of just like bullshit video game tropes.
All right. Do you want to talk about bosses?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about bosses.
Bosses.
They're
All right, good time.
They weren't good.
No.
Not one of them was good. I tend to think that they were worse than the actual platforming worlds.
Which is hard
pretty-
to, yeah.
It's pretty disappointing to get to the stage of the game where you go into outer space for some reason, and then you find out that you're done with platforming levels, and all you get to do is fight 5 random bosses.
Some of them were callbacks.
3
some weren't.
callbacks and 2 complete randoms.
What are the randoms? I need to know.
Okay,
I don't even know
so
how to
here's how
describe
you
them.
fight.
Okay.
So you fight the dragon,
Yeah, you fight the dragon, although he looks a little different. He's smaller.
and he can
He
fly.
fly.
Yeah.
He also tracks your movements perfectly. Which I thought the game was broken when I first got in because I started running immediately waiting to find him.
I mean, to
And
be
then
fair,
noticed
the
out of the
game
corner of
is
my
broken.
eye that his snout was just perfectly mirroring what I was
But don't
doing.
worry, he won't attack you if you keep
Yeah,
moving.
we'll get to that in a second. But so you fight the dragon, you fight this Mayan lord who isn't a callback.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
You
Chicken
fight
man.
just a random cowboy from the Western world. You fight a Blastoise dragon that's not a callback.
Yeah. This random blue
and,
turtle.
It's just straight up a turtle. It's not
Yeah.
a dragon
Yeah.
in any way.
it's
Well, I thought you
Blastoise
said it was a dragon.
Maybe it's one of those
What's the other thing?
Eastern
Delphinus
dragons
or
whatever
his
name is, the-
Like in,
the-
like,
oh
a-
yeah, Delphinus, the merman
Yeah.
from Atlantis. And you fight all those, and then you go fight Cronon for the 8th time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you fight him after every world.
And this time he throws everything at you: the dreidels, the hourglasses, the sundials,
The
the
fire.
Beyblades,
you can
and the
still
fire.
beat him by just walking in a
And,
circle.
well, yeah, but there's no hearts to help get any life back. There's no guns, so whatever you're coming in after fighting the other 5 bosses,
Right.
you get
For
no
us,
chance to
with
reach.
no lives and no health.
and the other 5 bosses also don't include any power-ups in their
That's
edge.
true.
So you go fight 5 bosses in a row. They're all super weak and easy to beat in general.
Well,
but
sort of.
well, but you're going to take some damage.
Yeah.
And then you use up all your bubble guns, so you're down to the blue.
Right, because there's no way for you to turn off your gun power-ups,
Yeah.
right? You're just
Yeah.
mandatory. You have no gun power-up because you have to use all of your
Yes.
incredibly weak bullets.
Yeah, so you're down to blue with little health, and then you fight Cronon on a small platform that you can just run off for no reason. And there are no power-ups at all. He's just throwing shit at you. So, I mean, it's just an exercise in patience more than anything else.
Yeah.
If you are willing to walk around him for long enough for his shit to stop flying at you, and then you shoot him once. That's the only time you get one shot in, and you just run around again.
Although sometimes, for no reason, the hourglasses
Yes.
will hit you.
yeah.
Yeah, I did beat the final boss, but to be fair to you guys, I warped directly into his boss chamber with full health and ammo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just killed him pretty effortlessly. So it did involve a lot of just walking.
Our
in
whole
circles.
experience, and Andrew was witness to this, our whole
Yes.
experience with the final boss sequence was fairly entertaining / frustrating. Because first you have to go through the ghost platform, which for me were a normal, I could do easily.
I struggled
Steven,
mightily at times.
for some reason, the same way he struggled with a waterfall, just couldn't do it. But my biggest problem was to get to each of the 5 bosses, you have to just go across a very simple and straightforward platforming. You jump straight ahead from large platform to large platform till you jump into the boss window. I struggled with that immensely.
Hilarious.
Because it's a space black background.
Yeah.
Swirl
With,
spiral
galaxy
galaxies
swirls and,
are the platforms.
I got in my own head and started jumping really early.
Just falling into
they
the
can
gaps.
attest. I'm not exaggerating. I
Uh,
I don't know how many times I did it,
least
total.
10. A
But
dozen, maybe.
I jumped early enough that I just missed the platform completely in the double digit. Like,
Oh yeah,
number of
I'd say like
times.
it's probably 12.
And then, then I took it from him to show him how
Steven
it
was
was done.
making fun of me, and then he just walked straight off the platform.
It was too
multiple
dark to tell,
times.
and I didn't jump in time and just walked straight off into space. The best part was you defeat 4 bosses and you're on the 5th one with the most
like, yeah,
health
good
that we've
health.
had. It's like you're on a roll, jump, fall off. Yep.
And so,
Start over.
but so these bosses are like truly horrific.
It's all the same arena with like some
It's the
killers
same
around the
arena.
edges.
Like they vary between like so buggy that you can kill them effortlessly. So the as I've
I'd
been
say-
calling it, the Blastoise dragon
Yeah.
/ the blue turtle.
Right.
Literally never attacked me. If you just spawn and run to a column, he will just like line up for you to murder.
He gets caught on the column. And
The
just doesn't do
walkthrough
anything.
guy, who I hope is listening at this point,
Yeah.
like said that was the hardest boss. I guess he never tried the column murder technique.
The green dragon.
The green
was
dragon
essentially the
also
same.
did that like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Every now and then it would attack
You
you.
like throw a slow moving fireball.
But then
in your direction.
Where's the column?
Cepheus, or whatever his name
Delphinus.
was, Delphinus, the
The Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean Merman.
Yeah. It was
Like
pretty bad.
was like probably the best designed of them because you could kill him if you did it just right. Otherwise, he would attack you with his like spitting suns at you,
Yeah.
which all the bosses
Yeah.
did except the cowboy.
That makes sense.
And so the sun spitting bosses, the problem was, so you'd shoot them, they do their little boss movements, and then when they got to like their sequence of shooting, if you like ran to dodge, they would just stop immediately until you stopped again. And so with those bosses, the ones that would attack you, as far as I could tell, there was no way to not take damage. Because if you tried to dodge, they would stop and wait for you to stop dodging. And once they started shooting, they were like instant, immediate damage that you
Right.
could not jump and avoid in any way.
Yeah, the cowboy was hit.
And the
That
cowboy was like its own version
yeah.
of hell.
It
Like-
was you were going up against like a McCree with
And so
Rascal's
the
controls.
way I fought the cowboy was I spawned, stood still, and shot him until he died, and took damage twice.
Yeah,
There was no optimal. That was the optimal way to do it. If you tried to dodge him, you wouldn't do enough damage to him. You would just get hit in the meantime.
Yeah, given that when you get hit, you start to flash and don't take damage while
Yeah.
you're flashing.
Oh,
So
good.
that's enough time to kill the boss.
Yeah.
In every case, they hit you once, and you
Yeah,
can kill, if you just stand there
Delphinus,
shooting.
I would take 1 hit and kill him. The cowboy, I'd take 2, and then I wouldn't take damage on the dragons, and I would take damage from the Tiki Man.
Right.
And so, I would usually the best I did was I got him half health
And no gun.
fighting Chronon.
Yeah.
It still wasn't enough.
Yeah. I'm glad that you guys got to this point because we beat the boss rush and then I think fell off one
Yeah,
of the
we died to
galaxies.
Chronon.
Yeah, and died to Chronon, and then we just warped into Chronon because I decided that
Yeah.
hardship was not a thing I was willing to put
I say,
myself through.
I think like the first attempt at the boss rush, I fell off a galaxy. Then second try, did them all, and then died to Chronon, and then you beat Chronon.
I really cannot think of like a vaguer concept of a platform, like a more ambiguous image to put as a thing you should land on than a spiral galaxy. It has like it has bright in the center, so you have one point that you know is safe, but of course it's too far away because of the way the jumps work. And then it gets progressively brighter and like closer to darkness the farther it spreads out. And it's not even a uniform circle.
Yeah.
It has like other things that come and spread out of it.
It's really bad. Like, I remember during the Sly Cooper podcast, I complained about in one of the last levels of the game, it was difficult to tell what you were supposed to jump to. That is like the single greatest platforming moment on the planet in comparison to jumping between galaxies on a space background. Because that's just not a thing that you would even think you would be able to do.
You guys are being surprisingly charitable to me. I was convinced that I was just like...
No,
Yeah.
it's incredibly stupid. And not only that, but like
I
the
mean,
first
you
time you
were
walk into
like
that
way
room,
worse at it than anyone else, but
Sometimes I would jump so early that I wouldn't even like get off the platform.
You're just gonna like
Very frequently I would jump and then be like, oh shit, like hold
Yeah,
on, that
pull
was
back.
way too early.
Thankfully, you could bend the laws of gravity and
And
pull
just
back.
jump
back.
back.
Jump,
You
yeah.
could jump up and pull back.
Yep.
So.
Although that's not unique to Rascal. That's pretty common in platformers.
Yeah. There's but no, yeah, when you first walk into that room, what you see are the lights where the doors are. And so like I'm pretty sure the first thing we did was just like, oh, and walk straight up.
Ran.
We're not even trying to jump because it's not even clear that there are platforms.
I ran towards one, realized too late that I had to jump, and like half-assedly jumped halfway and fell into space.
I actually saw a photo of this room, and it reminds me of the kind of room that in a modern video game would be like the quiet moment before the final boss. It's supposed to have like a moody atmosphere.
And not
wasn't
be like
moody.
a stupid
Yeah.
platforming.
The only thing moody was me after falling off like 5 times.
Anything else we want to just generally shit on?
Like, never mind.
Thanks.
I'm pretty sure
I think that pretty well covers it.
In shit.
And in shit.
I would say my bottom line of this game is I liked it.
Would you call it a rental?
I would recommend it to a friend.
Honest to God, I don't necessarily. I this is not an area that I have a ton of expertise in here, but I am at least moderately convinced that this could be considered like a The Room of games kind of situation, where I might recommend it to someone on the pretense that they are just doing it to see how bad a PlayStation 1 game can be.
If the idea of playing like Superman 64 or Bubsy 3D sounds like a good time to you, play Rascal.
Yeah, add Rascal to your list of god-awful games that you've played.
And one good thing you could say is, and this we mentioned this earlier in the first half, like, despite being a horribly designed game, it's not like a horribly made game in the sense that like it's gonna like crash.
No.
Or just you're gonna like randomly clip through everything.
You will be capable.
You can play it
of playing this game and just marveling at how
which is really
nonsensical.
Which is essential, I think, to playing a bad game and laughing at it.
I'm glad that you made this Superman 64 comparison because Rascal really does fall within like the range of historical games that are like as bad as they can be while still technically being games. So there is a game there. It's not like a big rigs over the road situation.
So it's not quite. It's still above Mountain. Because it is a game.
Yeah.
It's a deep cut reference.
Yeah, we'll have to. We'll have.
If the creator of Mountain is listening, or anyone that likes Mountain is
listening, we'll send you a bad.
Fuck you for just making a screensaver and acting like it's anything more than a screensaver.
Dude, we should do a bonus episode on Mountain.
Let's do it right now. Mountain isn't a game; it's a screensaver. What else is there to say?
Done.
It dresses it up by asking you stupid questions.
I like
beforehand.
that you,
all right,
like,
let's not
you
actually.
phrased it. You phrased it in the form of like. I thought you were going to begin a limerick. Like you were like, "Mountain isn't a game; it's a screensaver." Who dreamed it was eating a shoe? Okay. Thank you for listening to No Clip this week.
What are we talking about next time?
Next time we're going to be talking about. We're just calling it rhythm games with peripherals.
So, Guitar Hero and Rock Band.
Right, those series, respectively. We're not probably going to, like, go full deep into, like, Rock Band, the Lego Rock Band, or, like...
No DJ Hero?
Band Hero. I've played literally all of these games. There's a DJ Hero controller right there.
It sure is.
Yeah. So I could, but I don't necessarily want to sit down and be like, all right, guys, you have to play a couple of songs from like Aerosmith Guitar Hero.
We should actually get together and play Rock Band together.
Yeah,
at least once.
I agree with that.
I think that myself and probably all of our listeners assumed that we would do that.
Yeah,
Right, I mean,
I'll play it independently by ourselves.
Yeah.
We could.
Yeah. I just really wanted the excuse to play DJ Hero since I never did. I wanted to pretend to be a DJ.
It's
real
actually,
bad.
I'm sure that it's just like the other games where it
The least
has a
likely to
learning
be a
curve.
DJ of anyone I've
You
ever
can't
known.
lose, though, can you? In
Yeah,
DJ
you can
Hero?
fail.
Oh, I thought
Pretty
you
sure.
couldn't.
I don't know.
that
It's
was
been
a
a long
thing
time
in
since I
DJ
played it, but
Hero.
it was really difficult and I did play it.
But anyway.
Yeah.
It's tough out there on the streets, Chad.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can at noclippodcast.com or email noclippodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter at noclippodcast, on YouTube NoClip, and if you're not already listening to us on iTunes, you can find us there. Leave us a review and a rating.
I wanted to interject at this point.
Yeah.
And to say, you always say YouTube at NoClip.
Right.
That does not turn up NoClip podcast.
If you type in
No
NoClip,
Clip podcast.
well, no, if you just type in NoClip, because we're not actually.
You would not get the NoClip
You have to
podcast.
click channels.
Well, I feel like you should add that information.
Yeah, I couldn't
Steven
find the podcast.
literally, I have actual anecdotal evidence that you need to like specify how to find it on YouTube.
It became more difficult after when we started because 6 months later, a different YouTube channel, it's a specific YouTube channel that's called NoClip came into existence.
Right.
And is more popular than us.
Right, which means that they probably will get
Those
the
jerks.
1,000 followers first to get the NoClip URL, and we'll have to choose.
You can go
NoClip
to our
podcast.
website,
then
and on the
click
home
the-
page, there's an icon. It's the logo with the YouTube logo inside of it.
Right.
Click on that; it'll take you to our YouTube channel.
It's very intuitive and pretty.
Or just YouTube search NoClip space podcast.
You can.
Does
do
that
as
turn it
well.
up?
Yes.
Oh, well,
It's
there
the
you go.
first result if you do that.
good.
Cool. Well, I'll edit
No, leave this
all
in. This is
30
good.
episodes to include that instruction.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome. Welcome to NoClip. I'm Chad Rutherman,
I'm JJ Artemis.
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
and today we're joined by two very special guests. Dan. I'm not good at introducing guests.
The way you
He
set that up.
he said it as though he was about to say.
Normally you don't say we're joined by two very special guests, who then immediately jump in and say,
Like midway through that intro, I was like, "Oh, Dan and Steve aren't gonna say anything until I say something about them." So it was like a real I fucked it up.
I think
So we'll just go ahead and try it again. Yeah, really, it
That's
was
perfect.
Dan's
today we're going to be talking about...
Rascal. Which I didn't look up the information.
I'm pretty sure.
Man,
This is exactly the kind of quality intro that I expect from NoClip.
I'm
And
glad.
that I was disappointed
Out of
to not
31
have.
episodes, I think Chad's looked up the information ahead of time 4 times.
I was gonna say 4 exactly. Yeah.